It all started during senior year, when everything seemed to hang in a delicate balance between childhood and the rest of our lives. My name is Alex, and like most high school seniors, I was caught up in the whirlwind of college applications, final exams, and the social milestone that loomed over us all, prom night. I wasn't particularly excited about prom myself. The whole ritual felt somewhat forced, but my best friend Jamie wouldn't stop talking about it. We'd been inseparable since middle school, sharing everything from lunch tables to life crises, and apparently, this prom experience would be no exception. What I didn't expect was how Jamie's cousin Ryan would suddenly become such a significant part of my life. Ryan had transferred to our school at the beginning of senior year when his family moved to our town. He was tall, with this perpetually tousled dark hair and a smile that seemed to light up his entire face. He played basketball, got decent grades, and had this quiet confidence that drew people to him. I'd met him a few times at Jamie's family gatherings, but our interactions had been limited to polite small talk and occasional video game competitions. As prom season approached, Ryan had been particularly excited. He'd asked Sophia, a girl from his AP literature class, and she'd said yes. I remember how animated he was when he told Jamie and me about it during lunch one day. She actually said yes, guys. I still can't believe it, he'd said, his eyes bright with excitement. I'd felt a strange twinge in my chest at his enthusiasm, but I brushed it off as simple envy of his certainty about the whole prom experience. Let me explain why this matters. High school is this pressure cooker of emotions and expectations. Every small victory feels monumental, and every disappointment seems like the end of the world. For Ryan, securing a date with Sophia wasn't just about having someone to take pictures with. It was validation, a confirmation that he was doing this whole high school thing right. And for me, watching from the sidelines was comfortable, safe, even. I could observe without risking anything of myself. The week before prom arrived with a flurry of tuxedo fittings and corsage orders. Jamie and I had decided to go as friends, along with a group of our other classmates who weren't coupled up. It was the Thursday before prom when everything changed. I was at Jamie's house, sprawled on his bedroom floor with textbooks open for our last study session before finals, when Ryan burst through the door. His face was flushed, and his eyes held a wild, almost desperate look. She canceled, he said, his voice cracking slightly. Sophia just texted me. She's going with Derek Matthews instead. He collapsed onto Jamie's bed, staring at the ceiling as if it might offer some explanation for this betrayal. Jamie immediately went into problem-solving mode. That's messed up, man. But it's not the end of the world. You can still come with our group. Ryan shook his head. I don't want to be the pathetic guy who got dumped right before prom. Maybe I just won't go. I felt a surge of sympathy for Ryan. The disappointment was written all over his face, and beneath that, something that looked a lot like shame. As if somehow, Sophia's rejection was a reflection of his worth. I recognized that feeling all too well, the sense that you're somehow not enough, that you failed at something everyone else seems to navigate effortlessly. That's ridiculous, Jamie said firmly. You've been talking about prom all year. You're coming, even if I have to drag you there myself. Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. It's not just about showing up. I was actually looking forward to the whole experience, you know? The pictures, the dinner, the dancing. His voice trailed off, and he looked embarrassed by his own admission. Jamie's face suddenly lit up with an idea. The dancing. That's what you're worried about, isn't it? You've never slow danced before. Ryan's cheeks flushed. I mean, not really. I was kind of counting on figuring it out with Sophia. Now I'm just going to look like an idiot if I try to dance with anyone else. That's when Jamie turned to me with a mischievous glint in his eye. Alex can help you practice. I nearly choked on the soda I was drinking. What? No, Come on, Jamie insisted. You took those ballroom dance classes with your mom last summer. You know how to slow dance. Ryan looked at me with a mixture of hope and hesitation. Would you? I mean, it's totally fine if you don't want to. It's kind of weird, I know. There was something in his expression, vulnerability mixed with trust, that made it impossible for me to say no. Sure, I heard myself say. It's not that complicated. I can show you the basics. Jamie clapped his hands together. Perfect. I need to help my mom with dinner anyway. You two can use my room. Just don't break anything. And before either of us could protest, he was gone, leaving Ryan and I staring at each other in awkward silence. We don't have to do this, Ryan said after a moment. Jamie gets carried away sometimes. I shrugged, trying to appear more nonchalant than I felt. It's really not a big deal. Better to practice with a friend than look lost on the dance floor, right? Ryan smiled, relief washing over his features. Right. Thanks, Alex. I stood up and pushed Jamie's desk chair to the side to create more space. My heart was racing, though I couldn't quite understand why. It was just a dance lesson, after all. Nothing to get worked up about. Okay, so for a basic slow dance, it's pretty simple, I explained, trying to sound authoritative despite my suddenly dry mouth. One person puts their hands on the other person's shoulders, and the other person puts their hands on their partner's waist. Ryan nodded, absorbing the information with serious concentration. Who does what? Well, traditionally, the taller person puts their hands on the waist, but it's really whatever feels comfortable, I said. Ryan was a few inches taller than me, so he stepped forward and hesitantly placed his hands on my waist. The touch was light, almost tentative. I rested my hands on his shoulders, maintaining what felt like an appropriate distance between us. Now what? He asked, his voice quieter than before. Now we just sort of sway to the music, I said. Except we don't have any music. Ryan laughed, some of the tension breaking. I can fix that. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through his playlist before selecting a song. Soft piano notes filled the room, some ballad I vaguely recognized from the radio. We began to move, awkwardly at first. Ryan was stiff, his movements mechanical as he concentrated on not stepping on my feet. Relax, I told him. It's not a test. Just feel the rhythm and move with it. Gradually, he began to loosen up. His grip on my waist became more confident, and our movements synchronized. The initial awkwardness faded as we found a comfortable rhythm together. See? You're a natural, I said, looking up to meet his eyes. Something shifted in that moment. Maybe it was the music, or the gentle sway of our bodies, or the way the late afternoon sunlight filtered through Jamie's bedroom window, casting everything in a golden glow. But suddenly, I was acutely aware of every point of contact between us, his hands on my waist, my palms against his shoulders, the occasional brush of our knees as we moved. Ryan's eyes held mine, and I saw something there I hadn't noticed before, a depth, a warmth that made my breath catch. Thanks for doing this, he said softly. I know it's kind of weird. It's not weird, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. It's nice. The song ended, but we didn't immediately break apart. For a heartbeat or two, we stood there, still holding each other, until the spell was broken by the sound of Jamie's footsteps on the stairs. We jumped apart just as the door opened. Mom says dinner's ready if you guys want to stay, Jamie announced, looking between us curiously. Did the dance lesson happen? Ryan nodded, his cheeks slightly flushed. Yeah, Alex is a good teacher. Great. Problem solved then, Jamie said cheerfully. Now you can come to prom without worrying about making a fool of yourself. We went down to dinner, and the conversation moved on to other topics. But something had changed, at least for me. That brief dance had awakened feelings I hadn't even realized were there, feelings I wasn't sure what to do with. The next day at school, I was putting books in my locker when Ryan appeared beside me. Hey, he said, sounding uncharacteristically nervous. I was wondering if maybe we could practice again? I think I need more than one lesson to really get it down. I should have said no. I should have made up an excuse about being busy. But instead, I heard myself say, sure. When? Tonight? My parents are at some work dinner, so we'd have the house to ourselves. No interruptions. He quickly added, for the dancing practice, I mean. That evening, I found myself standing in Ryan's living room. He had pushed the coffee table aside to create a makeshift dance floor. This time, he had prepared a playlist of slow songs, and the sound system was ready to go. I figured we should make it more realistic, he explained. Like it would be at prom. We started dancing, and it was easier this time, more natural. As one song flowed into the next, we talked, really talked, in a way we never had before. Ryan told me about the pressure he felt to live up to his parents' expectations, how moving to a new school for senior year had been both terrifying and liberating. I shared my anxieties about college, about leaving behind everything familiar, about not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. Sometimes I feel like everyone else has it figured out, I admitted as we swayed to a melancholy ballad. Like there's some manual for life that I never received. Ryan's grip on my waist tightened slightly. I know exactly what you mean. Everyone expects me to be this perfect student, perfect athlete, perfect everything. Sometimes I just want to be me, whoever that is. There was something in his voice, a longing, a question, that resonated deeply with me. I think you're doing pretty well at being you, I said. At least, I like the you that I know. He smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. I like the you I know too, Alex. We practiced again the next night, and the night after that. Each session became less about dancing and more about connection. We shared stories from childhood, dreams for the future, fears that kept us awake at night. With each conversation, each laugh, each moment of vulnerability, I felt myself falling deeper into something I couldn't name, or perhaps something I was afraid to name. By the fourth night of our practice sessions, the pretense was wearing thin. We both knew that Ryan had mastered the basic slow dance steps after the first night. Yet here we were, in his bedroom this time, moving together to the gentle rhythm of a love song I'd heard 100 times but never really listened to until now. "Alex," Ryan said softly, his face serious. "Can I try something?" My heart hammered against my ribs. "What?" Instead of answering, he pulled me closer, eliminating the careful space we'd maintained between our bodies. Now we were chest to chest, his arms wrapped fully around my waist, mine around his neck. We were no longer doing the formal slow dance I taught him. This was something more intimate, more real. "Is this okay?" he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. I nodded, not trusting my voice. We continued to sway, our bodies perfectly aligned, and I could feel his heartbeat matching the rapid pace of my own. In that moment, I knew with absolute certainty that whatever was happening between us was mutual. The realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. As the song reached its crescendo, Ryan pulled back slightly to look at me. His eyes searched mine, asking a question he couldn't voice. I answered by leaning in, closing the distance until our lips met in a kiss that felt like both an ending and a beginning. The kiss was brief, gentle, but it changed everything. When we broke apart, Ryan rested his forehead against mine, his eyes closed. "I've been wanting to do that since that first dance in Jamie's room," he confessed. "Me too," I admitted. "I just didn't understand what I was feeling." Ryan opened his eyes, and I saw fear flicker across his face. "What does this mean? For us?" It was a loaded question, one that carried the weight of so many societal expectations and personal fears. I'd never dated anyone before, let alone another guy. And Ryan, popular, athletic Ryan, had always seemed so firmly entrenched in the heteronormative world of high school hierarchies. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "But I want to find out." "If you do too." He nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. "I do. But it's complicated, right? I mean, with prom tomorrow, and Jamie, and everyone at school." The mention of prom brought reality crashing back. Tomorrow night, we would be in a crowded gymnasium, surrounded by classmates and teachers. The safe bubble we'd created in these private dance sessions would be replaced by the harsh spotlight of public scrutiny. "We don't have to figure everything out tonight," I said, though part of me wanted to do exactly that. "Let's just take it one step at a time." Ryan agreed, and we spent the rest of the evening talking about what this new development meant for us, navigating the uncertain terrain between friendship and something more. When I finally left his house, it was with a mixture of excitement and anxiety about what the next day would bring. Prom night arrived with all the fanfare and nervous energy you'd expect. Jamie picked me up first, then we swung by Ryan's house. Seeing him in his tuxedo, hair carefully styled, a nervous smile on his face as he opened the door, it took my breath away. Our eyes met, and a silent understanding passed between us. Tonight would be complicated, but we would face it together. The gymnasium had been transformed with twinkling lights, balloon arches, and a disco ball that sent fractured light dancing across the walls. Our group found a table, and the evening progressed with the expected rituals: posed photos, mediocre catered food, loud conversations shouted over louder music. Ryan and I were careful, maintaining a friendly distance, joining in group activities. But our eyes kept finding each other across the room, and each glance felt like a secret shared. It was during a particularly energetic dance number that Jamie cornered me by the punch bowl. "Okay, what's going on with you and my cousin?" he asked bluntly. I nearly choked on my drink. "What?" "Nothing." "What are you talking about?" Jamie rolled his eyes. "Please. You two have been making eyes at each other all night. And Ryan mentioned you've been practicing dancing every night this week." He made air quotes around the words. Heat rushed to my face. "It's complicated." Jamie's expression softened. "Look, Alex, you're my best friend. And Ryan's my cousin, but he's also like a brother to me. If there's something happening between you two, I want you to know I'm cool with it." His acceptance, so freely given, brought unexpected tears to my eyes. "We're figuring it out," I admitted. "It's all pretty new and scary." Jamie squeezed my shoulder. "Love usually is. Just be good to each other, okay?" As if on cue, the fast song ended, and the DJ announced it was time to slow things down. The opening notes of a ballad filled the gymnasium, and couples began to pair off on the dance floor. I felt a tap on my shoulder and turned to find Ryan standing there, hand extended. "May I have this dance?" he asked, his voice steady despite the vulnerability in his eyes. Taking his hand would be a statement to ourselves and everyone watching. It would be crossing a line we couldn't uncross. I looked around the gym, at our classmates, at the teachers chaperoning from the sidelines. Then I looked back at Ryan, at the hope and fear mingled in his expression, and realized that nothing else mattered. "Yes," I said, placing my hand in his. "You may." We walked to the dance floor together, aware of the curious glances and whispers that followed us. But when Ryan's arms encircled my waist and mine found their place around his neck, the rest of the world faded away. This wasn't like our practice sessions. It was better, more real, more honest. "Everyone's watching," Ryan murmured, though he didn't look away from me. "Let them," I replied, surprising myself with my boldness. "We're just dancing." But we both knew it was more than that. As we swayed to the music, our bodies moving in perfect synchrony, it felt like a declaration. Here we are. This is us. Take it or leave it. Some people stared. Others whispered behind their hands. But many just continued with their own dances, their own moments. And our friends, Jamie, and the rest of our group, smiled encouragingly from the sidelines. As the song reached its final chorus, Ryan leaned down and pressed his forehead against mine. "I'm glad Sophia canceled on me," he whispered. I laughed softly. "Me too." When the music ended, we stayed on the dance floor for the next song, and the one after that. By the third slow dance, other couples had returned to the floor, and our presence was no longer the novelty it had been. We were just two more people sharing a moment amid the chaos of prom night. Later, as the evening wound down, Ryan and I slipped outside for some air. The night was cool, stars visible despite the city lights. We sat on a bench just outside the gymnasium, the muffled music providing a soundtrack to our conversation. "So," Ryan said, taking my hand in his. "That happened." I smiled, interlacing our fingers. "It did. Are you okay?" He nodded slowly. "Better than okay, actually. I thought I'd be more scared, but once we were out there, it just felt right." He paused, considering his next words carefully. "I've been struggling with this part of myself for a long time, Alex. Trying to ignore it, pretend it wasn't there. But being with you these past few days, it's like finally being able to breathe after holding my breath for years." His honesty moved me deeply. "I know what you mean. I think maybe I've always known, somewhere deep down, but I never had the courage to face it until now. Until you." Ryan squeezed my hand. "So what happens tomorrow? And the day after that?" "We graduate in 3 weeks, and then—" The future stretched before us, uncertain and vast. College loomed on the horizon. Ryan had accepted a basketball scholarship to a state university, while I was headed to a liberal arts college 2 hours in the opposite direction. The logistics were daunting. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I want to figure it out together. If you're willing to try, so am I." Ryan's smile was like the sun breaking through clouds. "I'm definitely willing to try." We sealed the promise with a kiss, there under the stars, with the faint sounds of our prom continuing inside. It wasn't the prom night either of us had expected, but it was perfect in its own way, a beginning rather than an ending. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of finals, graduation preparations, and navigating our new relationship. We came out to our families with varying results. My parents were surprised but supportive, while Ryan's father needed more time to adjust to the news. Our friends rallied around us, and though there were some uncomfortable moments at school, the impending end of senior year seemed to mute any potential drama. We made the most of that summer, knowing that fall would bring new challenges with our separate colleges. We went on proper dates, met each other's extended families, and spent countless hours planning how we would make a long-distance relationship work. It wouldn't be easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. Looking back now, I'm amazed at how a simple dance practice could change the course of 2 lives so completely. What began as a favor for a friend's cousin became the start of something profound and lasting. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if Sophia hadn't canceled on Ryan, if Jamie hadn't suggested that first dance lesson, if either of us had been too afraid to acknowledge what was happening between us. So many small moments, so many choices that led us to where we are now. They say that love finds you when you least expect it. In our case, it found us in the rhythm of a slow dance, in the vulnerable space between friendship and something more, in the courage to step onto a crowded dance floor and simply be ourselves. And as for that almost forbidden romance that began with a practice dance, well, some things are worth breaking the rules for. Some people are worth taking risks for. Ryan was, and continues to be, that person for me. Our story didn't end with prom night or graduation or even with the challenges of long-distance college relationships. It's still being written, one dance at a time. Because in the end, that's what love is, a dance between two people who choose, again and again, to move together through life's music, whether it's playing a fast-paced beat or a gentle ballad. And I, for one, wouldn't change a single step. Total_char_count, 18,713.